Good morning and welcome to this virtual, fairly short agenda meeting of the Regional Transportation Committee for Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. This is your chair, Steve Conklin, live from Edgewater. And we will do a roll call quickly and then move through the again, fairly brief agenda. Cam?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. In attendance for members and alternates, I see Director Bob Broom, Vince Busick, Michael Guzman, and then for CDOT, we have Commissioners Jessica Holguin, Karen Stewart, Darius Pakbas. For DRCOG, we have Chair Steve Conklin, Executive Director Doug Rex, Vice Chair Wen Shaw, Mr. Randy Wheel, Ron Papsdorf, Jeffrey Coleman. I also see Brian Welch has joined, and that is all I see for members and alternates at this time. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
You know, I miss those days of muted and unmuted and all that stuff. You forget how that goes. I apologize. For the virtual meeting, if you need to speak, please raise your virtual hand. I apologize for the traffic noise. And if you are asked to be promoted to, sorry about that. If you were asked to be promoted to a panelist and have not done that yet, the answer on that would be yes. And I will have Cam help me recognize people as well when those hands are raised, those virtual hands. With that, in your packet, in your information, well, actually, we'll go to public comment first. Opportunity for public comments. Do we have any public comment?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to give it a second to see if any hands are raised or if anyone would like to speak. And I don't see any, so there is no public comment at this time.
All right, thank you very much. With that, in your packet is the meeting summary from the June 20th meeting. Are there any comments or issues on those, that information on the meeting summary? Okay, with that, we will move forward to our sole action item, which is the fiscal year 2022-2023 Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP amendment. And we will ask Andy Taylor, Regional Planning and Analytics Manager, to present. Andy.
Thank you, and thank you for making time for this time-sensitive agenda item this morning. I have a proposed amendment to DRCOG's Unified Planning Work Program in front of you today for your consideration that will explicitly add housing coordination planning activities into our regional transportation planning process and allow DRCOG to procure consultant services to assess regional housing needs and opportunities, beginning with the request for proposals that was released last week. On the first point, housing and transportation have always been connected. They're connected in our daily lives, traveling from home to work to school or other destinations. Where we live affects different travel modes that may be available or feasible and how far we have to travel to meet our daily needs. Consequently, our approach at DRCOG has long woven this relationship into our planning work, connecting growth and development with infrastructure decisions back all the way to our first regional plan toward greater livability in 1963. What's changed now is language in the United States Code. Last year, I presented to this committee that through the bipartisan infrastructure law, Congress added a key word to one of the items our regional transportation planning process must consider. They added the word housing, so that the process must promote consistency between transportation improvements, state and local planned growth, housing, and economic development patterns, among other factors in the code. Although one might argue that housing was already implied when it mentioned growth previously, now it's explicit. On the second point, the DRCOG Board of Directors has been discussing a potential regional housing strategy since its board retreat in early 2022, and again at this year's retreat in May, after a series of extensive conversations about regional and local housing issues. And so by recommending that DRCOG make this amendment now, the Unified Planning Work Program resources can be available so that DRCOG can continue to work to procure consultant services under this activity for a regional housing assessment and take advantage of the momentum around this conversation around housing. with aims for additional housing and transportation coordination activity into the next Unified Planning Work Program. So we need a motion to recommend this amendment to the Unified Planning Work Program, but I'm happy to turn it back over to the chair in case there are any questions or comments.
Yes, do we have any questions or comments? And Karen Stewart, please.
Thanks very much, Chair. It's interesting because each community does a master plan that has considerable cost to it and intensive stakeholder input. And I'm thinking back to when Broomfield was putting together some growth area at the interlocking area. And one of the reasons we didn't put a number of housing units in there was because there was no public school service. And so I'm wondering about the public school piece of this. You know, you put in housing and you hope to put it near transit, and then sometimes those areas aren't served with adequate school. So no, this isn't part of the discussion, but as we look at this and as the consultant looks at this, I'd like to see a holistic approach to this so that when we're considering adding housing in whatever form it is, whether it's, you know, multifamily or rental housing or affordable housing, that there's a nod to the need for, with housing comes the need for public school facilities within a reasonable distance. You know, we run into the corollary issue of a school could be within a certain distance, but parents can't get their kids there and there's no busing to help with that. So interesting and glad to see this. And I think it's something we've done at DRCOG for many years, and it won't be too hard to comply with this new requirement. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you for those comments. Appreciate that. Director Ward.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question for staff if they had followed up with some of the questions I had during our, I guess, coordination meeting on Friday.
We can either have Executive Director Rex respond, or you can state what those questions are so everyone is aware of those.
Well, I'll state them again. I had a question as it relates to the language taking out state from the land use portion, and how that, if any, effects would occur with statutory towns within the DRCOG region versus home rule municipalities.
Mr. Rex?
I'm going to defer to Ron.
Mr. Papsdorf?
Mr. Chair, Director Ward. So I have the list of statutory cities and towns that are in the DRCOG region. We have one statutory city, that's Idaho Springs in Clear Creek County. We haven't I haven't counted. 15 statutory towns in the DRCOG region. They mostly are smaller towns, as you might expect. So Bennett, Beaumar, Columbine Valley, Deer Trail, Empire, Firestone, Foxfield, Frederick, Jamestown, Lakeside, Lyons, Meade, Silver Plume, Superior, and Georgetown. But what we have not yet investigated is whether that has any particular impacts on sort of the land use authority part of your question. So we'll have to explore that a bit more to determine that kind of those implications.
Okay, and since we don't have those questions answered quite yet, if we were to proceed forward with this amendment and for some reason there is an issue that arises where those statutory towns are, the wording of this impacts them greater than it would a home rule municipality, would we then try and amend this amendment, or what would that process look like?
Yeah, Director Ward, Andy and I probably need to confer on this, but my read is really, since this is consultation work, I mean, we're going to consult with all the local jurisdictions in the region as part of this work. And we're obviously going to be talking to a number of state agencies and partners to help inform the work. We're not deferring the work to those agencies. They're not directing the work. It really is about kind of conversations and communication so that we're incorporating that input into these efforts ultimately that will come back to the board for decision making.
Which, if I may just add, which we are required to do, Director Ward, based on federal law.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Right, thank you. Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Chair. Our RTD's request would be that we could be added as a participant in addition to local governments and CDOT, if that would please the staff and the board members.
I'd ask staff, are there any issues, concerns with that suggested amendment to the amendment?
That would be adding RTD down to the list of participants at the bottom of the amendment. I think that would be indicative of the work we're planning to do anyway. So I don't see a problem with that.
Thank you.
So when we get an a motion, if the movement can add that in at that point in time, that would be appreciated. Mr. Rex.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. I just wanted to address the comment of Commissioner Stewart earlier. I think it's a very legitimate point, and I hope that will be a variable that will be considered as part of our analysis, as well as we will reach out to stakeholders in the public school sector to try to get them involved and be involved as a stakeholder. That's a very legitimate concern, because I think of myself and where I moved when I came here back in 2013, and it was certainly the school districts was something of concern. So we'll definitely fold that in. So I thank you, Karen, very much.
Yeah, and I echo the appreciation to Commissioner Stewart on that. Thank you. Other comments, questions, or a motion? And unfortunately, I am not. Cam, can you help me with
Yeah, I saw Director Guzman, your hand was raised.
Okay, Director Guzman.
Sorry, technology. I didn't have a question. I didn't realize my hand was raised. I might have hit something wrong, but I am happy to make the motion if there's no other conversation.
That's great.
I will move to recommend to the DRCOG Board of Directors the amendment of the fiscal year 2022, fiscal year 2023 Unified Planning Work Program, which would also include as a partner the Regional Transportation District, RTD.
Right. Thank you very much. Director Shaw, is that a second?
That is a second. Thank you.
Fantastic. Any additional conversation before we move to a vote? Okay. Cam, what is your preferred way for that vote, given that we're virtual? How would you like that? Is a voice vote okay, or do you need a roll call?
A voice vote will be sufficient, just like the standard yeses, nos, and then abstentions.
Okay, fantastic. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? And any abstentions? Great. Thank you very much. We achieved our action items. So thank you all very much on that one. Administrative items, we'll move on. Member comment, other matters. If anybody has a pressing report, you could do that at this point in time, or any other comments. Okay, looks like we don't have any of those. Actually, I do see a hand. Director Guzman.
I just want to give a shout out to the folks at RTD and with the Taylor Swift concert this weekend, with the baseball games, with everything that was going on. We moved a record number of people. And I think that that is great because, you know, it's a regional success for everybody that brought a lot of tourism and a lot of economy boost to our region. And I just want to give a shout out to the folks that did the hard work of getting people on buses, trains, Ubers, Lyfts, coordinated through the city to get them home safely. And then also, please get on the bus and the train and ride around because it's free for the rest of this month and next month. So please don't forget that. Encourage your friends to ride on RTD.
I used that multiple times yesterday for 2 trips downtown. So very cool. Thank you for the reminder about the awesome opportunity in July and August with the zero fare for better air. So thank you. Any other comments, additions? Mr. Rex, do you have anything else?
I do not, sir. Thank you very much, though.
With that, hey, thank you all for being on. We really appreciate it. Appreciate everyone's willingness to do this virtual meeting to get the one action item dealt with that needed to be. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, August 15th. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.
You.